So welcome, Genevieve, and thanks for doing a webinar with Quest New Brunswick.
Thank you, Eddie. I would like to first thank you for the opportunity for this webinar. So today I was speaking about innovative financing solutions for energy efficiency and renewable project. And I have about 35 to 40 minutes of presentation to make.
Yeah.
Okay. So just a few words on our Econoler. Econoler is a Canadian consulting firm. Its headquarters in Quebec City, but we do have one office in Montreal and Toronto. And we also have one subsidiary in Nova Scotia and Kenville, actually real close to Halifax, which is Equilibrium Engineering, which is also an engineering firm specialized in energy efficiency. Econoler has been around for about 35 years now. We have completed like thousands of mandates all around the world in about, I believe it's over 150 different countries, and for assignments always related to energy efficiency, but energy efficiency in a holistic kind of approach. So we'll have been involved with energy efficiency policies, legislation, market potential study, impact study, feasibility study, the program, energy efficiency program design, energy efficiency, program evaluation, and everything really is related to energy efficiency, except the actual construction and implementation of project. Our core expertise are around the energy efficiency financing and also a measurement and verification of the performance of projects. So you'll see here a list of different expertise we have. Some of our clients, just the one that are probably the most of most interest to the Quest member, the caucus member, sorry, is we've just completed a project with the City of Quebec on a district energy system that will be powered by the excess steam from the municipal incinerator. So with that project, we were involved in, well, the opportunity and the feasibility study of the district energy system, but also to work on designing contract templates for the potential users of the system. Also, we've looked at the environmental aspect, the benefits of the system, the social aspect, and the legal aspect of it. So like I said on the slide before, we are solely working in energy efficiency and renewable energy, but for most of our project, we touches upon all aspects related to the project. One project that's not mentioned there was just launched with the City of Saskatoon in Saskatchewan, of course. A project where we'll be facilitating the launching of a $30 million initiative to decrease the energy consumption of several buildings. So we're very proud to be the partner chosen by the City of Saskatoon to reach their ambitious goal. And with other municipalities as well, we are working now with the Alberta Urban Municipality Association, I think it's Alberta Urban Municipalities Association, on designing a training program for the that will for different type of people. So we have designed with them a training program for the elected officials, managers, and building operators. So I wanted to describe those projects, well, just so you know that we cover like a wide range of different expertise, a wide range of different skills we have, but it's always, again, related to energy efficiency. So today's challenge will be in about 40-45 minutes to demystify different financing solutions for energy efficiency and renewable energy projects. So I won't be able to go into details for each of these financing solutions, but at the end you should have enough information so that you can consult literature or call us if you need a little more detail. But you have a good glance of what's available on the market.
That's great, thanks.
Thank you. So this is the agenda. So I'll first make the case for energy efficiency, then talk about energy efficiency financing, what's on the market, what's new, and to talk a bit more about one of these solutions, which is energy performance contracting, and then talk about efficiency capital, which is an organization that is willing to work with you. So this is a slide that's coming actually from a report. I don't see the reference there, but that was released in December 2014, if I'm not mistaken. And what why I wanted to show that slide is that because it's just recently, and when I say recently, maybe a few years, that the importance of energy efficiency in stimulating jobs creation and economic growth has been put forward by the people involved in the sector. So us in energy efficiency, I've always been good in talking about the environmental benefit, the financial benefits, and other, I will say, technical benefits, but rarely we've talked about job creation and GDP increase and so on. And a lot of different studies now are showing the results that actually energy efficiency, and that's a study that was done for the Canadian market, like I said, like I think in 2014, and that study has shown that for every dollar put in energy efficiency, it's going to increase the GDP by $5 to $8 and create about 30 to 52 jobs per year per million. So it takes into account the direct and indirect benefits of investing in energy efficiency, but I think from a municipal perspective, it's very important and interesting because the amount of money that's spent in energy efficiency within the community it's money that's used to increase the economic growth of the community, and it has a lot of different economic benefits. So you might want to check that study because it's a very interesting study. Like I said, it's one of the few very detailed studies that touches upon the economic benefit of energy efficiency at the community level. In terms of energy efficiency projects, the benefits are numerous. If you look at from the facility perspective, it will, well, if you are in the industrial sector or even in the commercial sector, it's improve the competitiveness because it decreases your costs, increase your profit margin, and it helps you be more competitive in this global market. A lot of different studies, especially for the industrial sector, has proven that when you implement a real energy management kind of a system, when everyone is involved and you continuously want to improve your energy efficiency, in the meantime, you will improve product quality and your product quality or your services. You're going to improve production, decrease the rate of rejected goods that you produce and so forth, so they have a lot of side benefits to it. It lowers operating costs, and the one benefit we see that is the most important or interesting to our client are the modernization of equipment. So we deal a lot with the public sector, municipal or hospitals or school boards and so on, and most often they have a lot of deferred maintenance. They have equipments that are at the end of their useful life. They're trying to find a way to finance this equipment, to modernize this equipment, and energy efficiency is a good way to try to leverage a little bit the savings to pay for the equipment. And one obvious benefit of energy efficiency and renewable energy projects are, of course, environmental stewardship. When people talk about energy efficiency projects, often what we will, the one economic metric they use is the payback period. So you will hear that people will invest in energy conservation measures that have a payback less than 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, well, depending on what sector you are in. But this one is a good metric, but there are other metrics as well that are good to evaluate energy efficiency project. And one that I find particularly interesting is the internal rate of return. And that particular number here, 70%, is coming from a study that was published by the McKinsey Global Institute, which is the research arm of the McKinsey, the big management consulting firm. And what they've said is that they've done a study for North America, so it includes Canada and the United States. They find that on average, for the projects, well, on average on the market, the internal rate of return of energy efficiency project is 17%. If you compare that to the interest rate you'll get at the bank or you'll get elsewhere where you invest money, it seems like it shows that energy efficiency is a good is really a good investment. And I have here some, for a comparison, the internal rate of return of building efficiency, which are the green bars at the far right, compared to other means of generating revenues or profits. So if you compare it to government bonds or equities or venture capital, which are all kind of different kind of investment, you see that And the number is slightly different from the 17% I've shown on the previous slide, but it's coming from another study that was done. But it shows that the IRR of energy efficiency is a lot higher than most of what you could find on the market. The 28% refer to an individual project, while the 34% is taken into account if everyone was investing in energy efficiency. The sector will become more competitive, will develop some effectiveness in implementing projects and so on, so the cost, basically the cost of projects will decrease, so the rate of return will be higher than if there are only a few individuals that make projects. Now, to say that it is a very effective to invest in energy efficiency. The payback, sometimes, if you talk about the IRR of 28%, it's a simple payback of about 3 to 4 years. But even if you invest in projects that the payback is close to 10, 15 years, you'll have an IRR of maybe 10, 12, which is still very, very good. So this is one slide. This is a quote from Bill Clinton. Is made in the 2014 World Energy Efficiency Congress, that barriers to, well, basically talk about the barriers to energy efficiency, and he has mentioned that financing is one of the biggest challenges facing by the industry. So what is the missing link? In this slide, it's again, it's coming from a report. That one was prepared by Johnson Control. It's in 2010, and they have done a study looking at the different barriers to energy efficiency projects in buildings. And as you see, most of the barriers are related to financing. So you'll have lack of capital budget, insufficient payback, so payback is higher than the target of the facility. Uncertainty regarding the payback, so you have engineering firm or consultant that comes and say, well, implement those measures, energy conservation measures, payback are 4 years, it's good investment. The building owner or the building manager or the city manager is like, well, we're not sure about that payback. How can we evaluate the risk? Is that payback really going to materialize in the future? So that's a barrier related to the uncertainty or the risk regarding the payback. Lack of technical expertise, that one doesn't have to do with financing, but you'll have the landlord-tenant split incentive, and debt-to ratio, and that one is partially important for the rest of the presentation, is debt-to-equity ratio, or it could be seen as the loan borrowing capacity, which municipalities or even healthcare or the commercial buildings or the industrial buildings, there are, when they go to the bank, they will have to well, convinced that they could have a loan for energy efficiency projects, and depending for the private sector, they will be, especially when they are a public company, publicly traded company, they'll be very careful about their debt to equity ratio. They might, so they don't want to borrow money for energy efficiency, they'll rather to borrow money to improve, to increase production or develop a new product. So that's becoming a barrier to borrowing money to invest in energy efficiency. So this is the traditional access to capital. That's not the only two, but the most popular. So let's say you, the first one will be to use capital budget to fund energy efficiency project. But typical facilities budget includes a relatively small allocation for capital improvement, and most of the time that allocation will be used, like I said, for improving the facility. So improving the buildings, repairing the roof, developing a new production line in the industrial sector, to build a new infrastructure for the citizen of the municipality. So rarely energy efficiency will compete well against all those improvements when it comes to using capital budget. So then another alternative to finding capital for energy efficiency project will be to go at the bank. Some of the hurdles associated to that is that it utilizes the borrowing capacity. So it means that if you need afterward to borrow for other type of project, that will jeopardize your borrowing availability. For some of the company well, for all of them, the loan will appear on the balance sheet. For some of the company, that might be a problem because you'll carry a huge debt on your balance sheet for energy efficiency projects, so that's most of the time not, well, people don't want to do that. And for publicly traded companies, one of the hurdles is that it will negatively impact the attractiveness to potential investors. And that those investors, like I said on the slide before, they typically relies on the financial ratios or debt to equity or return on assets and other metrics like that. So not rarely, but I would say that most of the time people are a bit reluctant to go to the bank to borrow money for energy efficiency projects. So that is why there are people that came with all kind of different financing model that are called emerging, but some of them are not that emerging. They've been around for instance, the energy performance contracting has been around for about 35 years, but it's just recently that's been used more and more. So some of them are not emerging in the sense that they were just not created, but they're still not very used on the market. So you'll have the power purchase agreement, the property assessed clean energy bonds, which is basically the way for municipality to finance energy efficiency projects. Your on-bill financing, which is basically the utilities that will use that kind of financing. So you'll be able to do improvement in your facility, and you're repaid the improvement by some on your bill, on your energy bill. The performance-based infrastructure. So they're all kind of different financing models that I could go in more detail, but the one I wanted to talk about today is the energy performance contracting. So what is energy performance contracting? At the short, it consists of transferring technical and financial risk to a third party. So recall when we said that there's sometimes some of the barriers to energy efficiency projects in the buildings will be lack of uncertainty regarding the payback, lack of technical expertise, and energy performance contracting allows to overcome those barriers, because the technical and the financial risk is transferred to a third party, so you don't have to carry the risk of the project on your shoulder. It's normally offered by what we refer to as energy service companies, or ESCO. Typical service will include the design of the project, the financing. So when I say financing, it could be really financing, like giving you the money to do it, or arranging for financing with a third party, like a bank. Typical services will include also implementation of the project, measurement and verification of the performance of the project. So for the duration of the contract, which could be 2, 5, 10, 15 years, the ESCO will offer the service of measuring the performance to make sure that you reach target, and most importantly, to make sure you could continue on improving your energy performance. Other services typically included are training, communication, and also awareness campaign. So all of those aspects are critical to the success of energy efficiency projects, and most of the time they are included in what the energy service companies offer. Just to give you a glance of the potential market in North America, and in the United States, I believe it's going to reach about 6 to 7 billion per year, mainly in the public sector. In Canada, $500 million per year. And then McKinsey Institute, they estimate 520 billion potential over the next 10 years. In Europe, it's also a huge market, and Asia also is growing. So it's not marginal. It's not as big as it could, because it's still fairly unknown. But it's not marginal, and it's been there. There are a lot of lessons that were learned in the past years, and we strongly believe that now it could be more and more important to the Canadian market. If you want to know more, there are about what the countries around the world, how they use energy performance contracting in reaching their GHG emission reduction targets or energy efficiency targets. There's a good book, which is the World ESCO Outlook that could be found on Amazon, that was actually co-authored by our president, Pierre Langlois. So there are different concepts in energy performance contracting. Those are three. So there are guaranteed energy savings contract, share savings agreement, and chauffage. And I will be speaking only about the first two. So schematically how it works for guaranteed energy savings contract, you'll have an end user, which could be industrial facility, a municipality, a school board with different buildings, or anyone really with the building. The ESCO will do the engineering, the implementation, the measurement and verification of the project, and the training. A financial institution will give a loan for the building owner to implement the project, so to pay the ESCO based upon the progress. And the end user will generate energy savings month per month as a result of implementing the project, and will use those savings to repay the debt to the financial institution. In that type of arrangement, the ESCO is not financing the project, and but is guaranteeing the savings. So it means that if, for instance, you invest $5 million into a project with the hope of generating $1 million of saving per year, you will contract a loan to the financial institution, a $5 million loan, with the goal of making $1 million of saving per year. And that $1 million of saving per year will be used to repay the financial institution. But let's say after year one, you had some issues with the project, it was not commissioned properly, you're not reaching 100% of the expected savings, so you're only getting $800,000 of savings per year. Because it's guaranteed by contract, the ESCO will have to pay for the shortfall. So we'll basically give you a check of $200,000 so you can repay the financial institution, and most importantly, we'll come back in your facility and help you improve and optimize the system, so the next year, the second year, you could actually reach the target, which is in that case $1 million or even more. So the ESCO is paid upon the progress of the engineering projects, as any engineering firms will be, but then it comes with a guarantee, a measurement of the performance, and a guarantee of the results. So the cost and the savings are guaranteed by the ESCOs. In a share savings agreement, it's a little bit different. So the ESCO will get the loan and will repay the debt to the financial institution. And the ESCO will be the one investing in your buildings will be, again, will take care of the engineering, the implementation, the measurement and verification of the performance of the training. But instead of being paid upon the progress of the project, as the equipment are installed and commissioned, it will be paid based on a share of the savings that will be measured and verified each years after years. So their payment will be based on performance. So you, as the end user, won't have anything to spend to get the equipment and to have them commissioned and up and running in your facility. You'll repay the ESCO on a share of the savings year after year. It could be 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, depending on the arrangement or the contract you have with the ESCO, but you have nothing to pay up front. You pay year after year. And if there are no savings, well, there will be no payment, because that's the concept behind the shared savings agreement. If I go back one slide, the guaranteed energy savings mode is widely used in the province of Quebec in the public sector, in the healthcare and education center. Probably all of the hospitals, or most of them, have been through one energy performance contracting already. Some of them are like phase 2 and phase 3. A few of the municipalities, a lot of the school boards, and even some universities. So it's very, very popular here. But to my knowledge, it's not widely used elsewhere than in Quebec. Well, the share saving agreement is the one that is used by the Federal Building Initiative, which is an initiative by the federal government, which is run by the Natural Resource Canada. and it's used in federal building. For instance, we are working now with the DND, so the National Defense, on implementing a few energy efficiency projects all across Canada in their military bases. And the contracts they'll be having with ESCO are share savings agreement. So it's popular in federal building, while the share saving agreement, while the guaranteed energy saving agreement, it's very popular in Quebec. So all those two compare. So I'll compare the so you have a better understanding of energy performance contracting and the shared savings and the guaranteed savings mode. How they compare with each other, and how did they compare with traditional project. By traditional project, I mean a regular or traditional energy efficiency project, where you hire an engineering firm is going to do the design, implementation, and commissioning of your project. Most of the time, they are not measuring the performance, so you make the investment based on promises or expectation of results, but rarely it's measured afterwards. The guarantees are not, the savings are not guaranteed. The cost sometimes is, sometimes no. So I will, for the next few slides, I will compare traditional projects with the two different APC type of projects. So at a glance, the traditional project, like I said, is okay, so it's when you hire an engineering firm that's going to come, design, implement, and commission energy efficiency project. So there are no performance appraisal. So you don't know if the targets or the expectation has been met. And most importantly, what we've seen is that after a few years, we will witness erosion of the savings. So we might be on target or almost on target on the first year, but then as the year goes by, the decrease in performance could be from anywhere from 5 to 20%. So we have seen in some projects after 4 years, all the energy savings were eroded. So if you've made an investment based on the fact that you will repay your investment in 5 years, but after 4 you don't get any savings left, that's a big problem. Most of the time, the end user. Yes. You have a question.
How do you prevent against that type of erosion? And is it a question of leadership or maintenance, or can you tell me?
Yeah, sure. It's well, all of them. First of all, the first reason is that most of the time the performance of the project won't be followed, neither measured or verified.
Right.
So it means that there are no metrics that the top management or operators can follow just to make sure everything is remains functional. And the erosion will come mainly from, let's say, there were some sophisticated, for instance, controls put in the building automation systems. Somehow the training was not done properly for to the operator of the buildings, or no one was checking on it. And because they faced some, I don't know, like complaints about being too hot or too cold, what the building operator will do is to put the control on off and not try to fix it, just to put it at off and put a lot of heat or cold, and then you'll see erosion of ceilings. So that's one of the main reason. But why it happens is no measurement, no verification, no metrics, no training, basically no leadership about the project. So when it's done and commissioned, everyone is happy, and they turn on to another project and they don't follow that particular project. And we've seen that a lot happening in the projects when we measure and verify the performance for many, many years. There are a lot. It's impressive sometimes how fast it could deteriorate. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. I'm just curious if you know, to prevent that from happening, is that the municipality has those measurements in place, is providing leadership to ensure there's the follow through on the actions, that there's training for staff. Do you think also maybe engagement of energy professionals in that?
Yeah, if you're big enough that you can hire an energy manager, yes, of course that will help, but it's not necessary. What needs to be done is that after, during a particular project, at the design stage, you need to talk with the engineers and about how the performance will be appraised, and to agree on metrics that could be followed. The metrics could be very sophisticated if you're big enough and if you have the resources enough resources and if the building is complex enough that you need fancy metric. But most of the time you do it just by looking at the energy bills month after month and take into account the weather into when you analyze your bill and take into account, for instance, the occupancy level. And just by two simple variables and some mathematics, you can know month after month if you are deriving from what is supposed to be the optimal energy consumption of your building.
Okay, okay, thanks.
So just, okay, so to continue with traditional project, most of the time how it's working, the end user, so for instance, the municipality will act as the project manager and will take care of the technical and financial aspect of the project and is responsible to find the financing for the project. In the EPC shared savings mode, a third party will act as a product manager and will assume most technical and financial risk. So if it's not working properly, the system, because they assume the risk, they will have to come back and fix it at no cost. And they also assume the financial risk because if there are shortfalls in terms of what was expected in terms of energy saving, they will have to financially compensate for that shortfall. Most of the time, third party is responsible for financing. So either it finances the project or help the municipality in finding the financing. And in that particular EPC mode, the third party would get paid as a share of the savings year after year for the duration of the contract. The guaranteed savings, the ESCO, it's here I said ESCO because it's always ESCO implementing that type of project, while with the EPC share saving, it's not always, and I'll explain a little bit later why. But in the guaranteed saving, the ESCO will act as the project manager and assume most technical and financial risk, so very similar to the share savings. But instead of getting paid out a share of the savings, what it guarantees is the performance. So it guarantees the cost and the annual energy savings. So what are the key players in those three type of project mode, I will say? So in the traditional mode, it's mainly engineering firms or mechanical and electrical contractor when it's simple project like lighting retrofit or boiler retrofit with no huge building retrofit involving multiple HVAC system and building automation system and so on. So you will find a contractor involved that are involved in that market, and also building automation system providers that will come and mostly do a recommissioning project, so control the building controls so to make it more efficient. In the EPC shared savings mode, you will find some ESCO, energy service company, but there are also funding bodies that are specialized in energy efficiency that may act as the prime contractor, for instance, with the municipalities, and they will be the one hiring ESCOs or other player of the traditional market to implement the project. In EPC guaranteed savings, it's only ESCOs that are involved in that type of project. All those three differentiate in terms of cost and payment. In traditional project, the total cost of the project is unknown until all contractors will get selected and the cost is not guaranteed. So you'll have a design, you'll have some cost estimate by engineering firm, but until they go on tender and actually get quotation from contractors and you actually get the work started and completed, you won't know the total cost. So it might increase, it might decrease, you don't know at the forefront. And the payment will be in accordance with the progress of the project. So you say 20% of the project has been implemented, you pay 20% of the $5 million project. So so you basically pay upon progress. For shared savings, the total cost is unknown also until all the contractors are selected, but it's guaranteed. It's guaranteed in a way that the way it's structured is that you will agree with the firm on maximum amount of money to spend, and you will agree on a specific economic metric like the payback or RR and so on. So you will know that if the cost is higher, then the savings will have to be higher. If not, the project just won't happen. The payment will be a share of the measured and verified annual energy savings. So like I said before, there are no upfront costs when you take that partial ways of doing projects. In the guaranteed savings mode, the total cost is known and guaranteed as the ESCO is selected. So most of the time when you decide to go with the guaranteed savings type of project, you will release an RFP, and the RFP will be based on the net present value of the project, and the one that wins is the one with the higher net present value. So as soon as you select the ESCO based on that value, so your procurement process is done, you know what is the total cost and you know the savings, so you can have your board approve the project. Nothing is going to change because the cost is guaranteed and the savings is guaranteed as soon as they submit the proposal. So that's very convenient for someone that wants to manage tight budget. And the payment, like for traditional project, will be in accordance with the progress of the project. So it's like in the traditional project, but it's unlike the share saving project. In terms of product duration, yeah. See,
just wondering if the EPC guaranteed savings essentially is it more cost effective, or are you assuming some risk as an ESCO for that?
As an ESCO?
Yeah.
Well, the ESCO in both share saving and guaranteed savings, they take all financial and technical risk. So the municipality, for instance, won't take any risk, because if something happened, the ESCO have to pay for the shortfalls. They have to come back and fix whatever is not coming. In terms of more efficient, it really depends. The process, like I'll say a little bit later, is longer for guaranteed savings. Also, it takes longer before you actually start the construction, because of the way the procurement process is done. But there are pros and cons, and you will see that a little bit later. Did you have
No, that's great. Thanks.
Okay. In terms of project duration, so in traditional, it could be real quick. It could be if you just want to retrofit your lighting, it's going to go could be like a couple of weeks. But the project usually stops when all the energy conservation measures have been commissioned. So it could take, if it's a simple project, it's a matter of weeks. It's a little bit deeper retrofit, it's going to be a couple of months. One of the things I haven't mentioned about the big difference about the traditional and the EPC mode is that rarely you will find EPC for simple projects, just like retrofitting a boiler or doing the lighting. Most of the time it's going to be like more deeper retrofits into the building, with the exception of municipal lighting. But rarely you will find an EPC just to replace a boiler. Most of the time it's going to be replace the boiler and convert the steam system to hot water system and add some geothermal exchange in there and recreate and recontrol the building automation system and really like deeper retrofit. So in terms of project duration, typical contract length with the EPC share savings will be from 1 to 10 years after the energy conservation have been commissioned. So the total contract duration will be anywhere from 2 to 12 years, because it may take 1 to 2 years for construction because it's deeper retrofit. In the guaranteed savings mode, typically the project stops after the payback period. So the contract says, well, when it takes into account all costs and savings and measurement verification fees we have to pay you after a year, the project will stop after partial payback, which, like I said, is very popular in the Quebec public sector, so the payback are high. So it could be 10 to 15 years, but could be used also in other sectors with a lower payback. But usually the project ends after the payback has been reached. Okay, main advantages. Traditional is simple. There's good adequacy with the standard construction project. There are a lot of providers in the market. Like I said, it's relatively fast to implement. And I will say, because most of the time we are used to engineering projects, it's very similar to any kind of engineering project. So people know how to procure, they know how to tender, they know how to sign contract, they know how to manage. So that's one of the reasons why it's so popular. It's simple and known. With the EPC share savings, one of the advantages is turnkey. So like I said, there's someone's going to do project management, the construction implementation, commissioning, and also performance optimization and measurement and verification. One of the advantages there's no performance, there are no payments. So if there are absolutely no savings coming, you will have nothing to pay because it's a share of the proven savings. You will have a better persistence of the energy savings, and the reason is very simple, is because you have a company there which payment depends on the energy savings being materialized years after years. So you make sure you'll have expert and professional people looking at the energy savings year after years and improve the energy performance years after years, so you know that the savings will persist over time. There are so what I call collateral services, but in a good way, that are included. So most of the time it includes training of the operators, training awareness campaign to the users, so they change the way they interact with the building, they turn off lights and so on to generate more savings. So there are all other type of services that are given because it's been shown and proven that it helps improve the energy performance. So when you train and when you educate people, you'll have a better performance. And recall that these companies are paid by shareholder saving, so they want the project to be performant. And the guaranteed savings, the advantages, the payback is guaranteed. The total project cost is known from the beginning of the process. Also persistence of the energy savings and the same collateral services. Disadvantages, because it's not always, there are not only good news or good sides to projects. So the disadvantages of traditional, it's usually not performance oriented, it's reconstruction oriented. There are no other services, so no training and awareness optimization type of services. And like I said, it's one of the main reasons why the savings are not persistent throughout the duration, well, throughout the years, because of lack or, the non-presence of those services. And the final implementation cost is unknown until all the contractors are selected, even in some cases until the construction is done. So sometimes the project costs change as the construction go forward. EPC share savings, disadvantages, the final implementation cost is unknown also once the contractors are selected. So and you need, most of the time you'll need assistance to facilitate procurement, implementation, negotiation, and measurement and verification of the project. Because it's a new way of doing things, most of the time municipalities or even large commercial buildings, they don't have the capacity or the expertise to run those type of projects. They don't know how to procure, to sign contracts, so on, so they will need assistance. It's the same disadvantages for guaranteed savings project. One other disadvantage it has, it takes longer to implement the project, basically due to the procurement process. And the end user has less to say on the energy conservation measure, because basically the firm that wins the bid with its proposal, it's the project that's going to be implemented. And it's a little bit more difficult to interact with the engineers to make changes to the project. So having said that, so EPC is a good way to go, and not all the time, and most of the cases. And I said that one of the disadvantages is that it's new. You don't, most of the time people, they don't have procurement document for to procure ESCO, and they don't know how to negotiate contracts. They could be very tricky contracts. So there are facilitators that are there on the market, and a good facilitator, of course, is one that understands the needs and the constraints of the client and that know well EPC. And I was talking about the Federal Building Initiative program run by the Natural Resources Canada, and they implement EPC project in federal building all across Canada, and they do recommend using facilitators to help the client or the owner of the buildings with those projects. The typical cost of facilitator will be between 1% and 5% of the total project cost. So if it's a large project, you probably be more around 1% or even less. If it's a smaller project, it's going to be a little bit costlier. But the facilitators are there basically to make sure that the project will go well from the procurement to the end of the contractual agreement with the ESCO. And most of the time, the facilitator will also help discussing with the ESCO and negotiating the terms or negotiating energy performance report after year 3, let's say, that shows that the project is not running as expected, the facilitator will be there to help you make your point and come into an agreement with the ESCO. I'll let you read that, especially those listening to the webinar. So us as Econoler, we work as facilitator quite a bit. We actually have a team that's doing that full time with the likes of, like I said, City of Saskatoon and the RCMP and the National Defense, and it's usually a very small involvement from our part if you compare with the amount of work you have to do to actually implement the project. But most of the time we have saved a lot of money to our clients by picking up some little things in contracts or little things in energy efficiency report and so on. So just a couple of minutes on efficiency capital, which is TAF is a Toronto Atmospheric Fund. I'll go quick. You can go and check online what they're doing, but they have developed the what they call the energy saving performance agreement, which is basically a shared saving type of contract. They have implemented for many millions of dollars of project within their buildings at the City of Toronto, and TAF, they have chosen Efficiency Capital as its affiliate to kind of export out of Toronto this concept throughout Canada. So now Efficiency Capital, it's an organization that has millions of dollars to invest in energy efficiency projects, but they are not implementing projects. So they will work with municipalities or building owners, and they will finance projects. Why? Because the IRR, like I said at the beginning, of energy efficiency projects are very interesting. So they will invest in projects so that the owner doesn't have anything to spend at the beginning, and Efficiency Capital will get paid on a share of the savings of the project. So Econoler, we signed with an agreement with Efficiency Capital in which we own the exclusivity for Quebec and Atlantic Canada to finance project. So Econoler is very a consulting service company, so we don't implement project, but for that particular case, for Quebec and the rest of east of Canada, we can actually offer to our client financing for their project. So what is it's an integrated solution. So basically, like I said, it's because it's a share saving agreement, it's a structure that mitigates design and implementation risk, ensure the improved performance and reduce energy consumption because there will be measurement and verification, and because the performance is guaranteed. Because if there are no savings, well, the efficiency capital won't get paid. So you can be sure that they will make sure that the project will actually succeed. And with that partial financing mechanism, it could provide up to 100% of the financing. So how does it work? So you have the end user, and you have the implementer, which could be an ESCO or a contractor or any firm with the expertise of implementing projects. They will do engineering, implementation, M&V, and training. And Efficiency Capital will pay those implementers so that the end user don't have anything to pay. And the typical contract with Efficiency Capital will be that they will take 90% of the shared demonstrated savings for 3, 5, or 7 years, depending on the project. So it means that as an end user, not only you have nothing to pay up front, but you'll get 10% of the savings for so many years until you get all of the savings after the contract ends. So those are the summary of the steps. I will, if you have any question, you can always contact me so I can go through the different steps. So share savings agreement, again, benefits, no capital investment required, could potentially be off balance sheet, but I won't talk about that today. Immediate energy savings, so immediate savings. And like I said at the beginning, improve facilities performance, improve financial performance, and environmental stewardship. So that was it for today. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you very much, Geneviève. That's an excellent overview of ESCO and the different types of methods that are available, traditional comparison with some of the financing mechanisms. And I'm also pretty impressed with the Toronto Atmospheric Fund and the program that the financing program that you have the rights to for Atlantic Canada. I think that will be of interest for communities that are looking at this and trying to determine how they might finance project implementation. So thanks for sharing that information. You mentioned a federal program. Forget what it was. Something to do with buildings, and the
Yeah, it's called FBI, Federal Building Initiative. Yeah.
Federal Building Initiative. And
Hmm.
is that findable on the Natural Resources Canada website?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thanks for that. Do you have any other final thoughts for us before we end the webinar today?
No, no final thoughts other than I'm looking forward to meeting all of the caucus member probably in May at a caucus meeting. And if you have any projects that you like us to be involved in terms of financing and optimizing the project, you have my contact information, so you just contact me.
Okay, that's super. Thanks very much, Genevieve, and we look forward to having you here for our Quest New Brunswick meeting. Before we go, I'm just going to remind everybody that we do have a few more webinars coming up. Primarily this Thursday, we'll be launching the Community Energy Planning Primer for New Brunswick municipalities. And in April, we expect to be holding at least two webinars. One is on heating with biomass solutions, and the other will be by NB Power. So stay tuned. Thanks very much, Genevieve. Thanks for everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye for now.